Imagine a city called Eterna, where the sun never set and the clocks had no hands. In Eterna, the citizens believed they had an infinite supply of tomorrow, because they felt they would live forever. They never felt the need to act today. They stayed in jobs they hated, they left beautiful words unsaid, and they ignored their dreams like dusty books on a high shelf. They were not living, they were merely waiting. Their lives were a gray fog of procrastination and anxiety, because when time is infinite, nothing is precious. In this city lived a young man named Elian. Elian was a master of ladder. He told himself he would visit his mother later. He would start his art later. He would speak his truth later. But ladder was a ghost that always stayed one step ahead of him. He felt a deep, quiet hollow in his chest, a sense that his life was slipping through his fingers like water, even though he thought he had all the time in the world. One day, Elian wandered into a dark alleyway and found a small shop with a sign that read, "The Watchmaker of Truth." Inside, an old man sat behind a counter covered in thousands of tiny glass hourglasses. Each one was filled with glowing golden sand. "Master," Elian asked, "why are there so many timers, and why is the sand moving so fast?" The old man looked up with eyes that seemed to have seen the birth and death of stars. "These are not timers, Elian. These are lives. And the sand is not moving fast. It is moving at the only speed." He reached under the counter and pulled out a small hourglass. On the base, Elian's name was engraved. To Elian's horror, there was very little sand left in the top bulb. "Is this mine?" Elian gasped, his heart hammering against his ribs. "Is it broken? Can you add more sand? I'm not ready. I have so much I haven't done yet." The watchmaker shook his head calmly. Stoicism teaches us that we do not own the sand. Elian, we only own the perspective of the falling grain. You are terrified because you think death is a wall in the distance. But death is not in the future. Death is happening right now. Every second that passes is a second that death already owns. This is the core of Memento Mori. Remember that you must die. It sounds like a dark thought, but it is actually the ultimate healing. It is the medicine that cures the disease of triviality. The watchmaker told him a story of a great king who carried a skull with him to every feast. When the wine flowed and the music played, the king would look at the skull and whisper, "I too shall be this." It didn't make him sad. It made him vital. It reminded him not to waste his power on petty grudges or empty vanity. It forced him to love his queen more deeply, to judge his people more fairly, and to savor the taste of the wine as if it were his last. "When you realize your life is finite," the old man whispered, "the fog of anxiety disappears. You stop worrying about what others think of you, because their opinions will die with them. You stop fearing failure, because the only real failure is not truly living while you have the light." This was Elian's epiphany. He looked at the glowing sand in his hourglass. Suddenly, the golden grains didn't look like a countdown to an end. They looked like a gift. "What do I do?" Elian asked. "Stop living as if you were to live 1,000 years, the watchmaker replied. "Death stands at your elbow while you are alive, and while it is in your power, be good, be real, act now." Elian left the shop and walked back into the city, but he didn't see the gray fog anymore. He saw the brilliant green of the leaves. He heard the music in a stranger's laughter. He went straight to his mother's house and told her he loved her. He picked up his brush and began to paint, not for fame, but for the joy of the stroke. He realized that Memento Mori was the key to control. He couldn't control the amount of sand in the top bulb, but he had 100% control over how he honored each grain as it fell. He had found tranquility through the acceptance of inevitability. This is the message for us today. We live in a world that tries to hide death. We hide it behind filters, behind plastic surgery, and behind the endless distraction of our screens. We act as if we have an infinite supply of tomorrows, and because of that we are paralyzed by fear and indecision. Stoicism invites you to look at the skull, not to be morbid but to be free. Tonight before you sleep, acknowledge the truth. You might not wake up tomorrow. This is not a threat. It is a clarification. It strips away the noise. It reveals what is sacred. If this were your last day, would you spend it worrying about an email? Would you spend it being angry at a stranger in traffic? Or would you spend it in the presence of those you love, doing the work that matters to your soul? The sand is falling. It is falling right now. Do not fear the empty bulb. Fear the life that was never lived because you thought you had forever. Embrace your mortality. Let it be your teacher. Let it burn away the trivial and leave only the authentic. Memento Mori. Remember you must die so that you may finally begin to live.